each issue, we do a featured artist who we solicit as a journal. And this year we did something kind of unusual. So our featured artist is the Black Movement Dance Theater, contemporary modern dance theater founded by African-American women on the campus of Georgetown University more than 35 years ago. And we are presenting an interview with Alfreda Davis, who's the artistic director. But in addition to featuring Alfreda Davis's work, we are also featuring the work of Donald Susaki, who has been taking photographs of the performances of the Black Movement Dance Theater for several years. So Donald both interviews Alfreda and also is representing her work through his photos. So we're going to open up for both of them to present together about our art feature for this issue.
Hi, thank you, Chelsea.
Yes.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to mute myself now.
Well, for sure. I mean, maybe I could start out, Alfreda, and just want to thank you, Chelsea, and you and the entire editorial and the production team and the board of directors of the Little Patuxent Review for making possible this opportunity to share with the Little Patuxent Review readership a little bit about the talented Alfreda Davis of Georgetown University. And over the past few years of photographing some of the performances of the Black Movement's dance theater, I've come to appreciate how dedicated Alfreda really is to coaching and mentoring her students, and how she does more than simply teach the dance moves, but rather she tries to guide her students to find something essential in dance, through the movements, indeed, but also through its history and through the people who have shaped the art of dance. Now, Alfreda and I hope that you'll take a moment to read the interview, but today we'll have a chance to speak with her live, and she'll describe some of the background for the dances that are shown in some of the pictures that are in the issue of this of the Little Patuxent Review. But with that, I'd like to say hello, Alfreda.
Good afternoon, Donald. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this awesome invitation. I'm glad to be here.
I'm going to share my screen here, if you don't mind. No, Chelsea, is this the title slide here showing?
Yes, I see it perfectly.
Very good.
If anyone isn't seeing it, maybe you can type it in the chat, but I think it's working fine.
Excellent, good. Well, Alfreda,
Yes.
maybe you can start by telling us a little bit about how dance became part of your life.
Wow. I feel really blessed that I am a person who grew up in New York, where the arts is a very vibrant and uplifting part of the community. And I started in the arts probably around 8, 9, or 10, somewhere along those lines. I would probably have to get the exact timeline from my parents. But since I started in the arts, I was always connected. I started off actually in theater. And somewhere along the line, I transitioned more to dance. But I still combine the love of both dance and theater. So I've been doing it, like I said, somewhere between 8 and 11 years old. I first was introduced to the arts, and it's something that just grabbed me, and I was never able to let go.
Oh, very good. In fact, I think you just came on or signed on a moment ago. I think you're actually in the middle of a production, aren't you?
I am. I ran from the theater over to the dance studio so I can have a private space to join this launch, this event, and also to be able to take off my mask because we still have the mask mandate here. So I'm in the studio with the doors locked, and I took off my mask.
Well, in fact, that was COVID has been a big issue, and at least in the last couple of years. I mean, how do you do dance and teach dance when you're locked down?
Well, we never really considered not doing dance. We just had to find a way to do it in a safe manner for the students and the instructors and the guest choreographers. And we just took every day as a new day. And once we found our place in the virtual world, we just continue to move forward. It's more challenging that we're now back on campus and the students are dancing in their masks, but we make sure that we give them enough breaks where they can go outside and get air and drink water, but it's definitely challenging.
That's going to be interesting. You have a performance coming up next weekend.
Yes.
All
We
right.
close out Black History Month next weekend, yes.
Well, then perhaps you can say a little bit about the history then of the Black Movements Dance Theater.
Sure. Black Movements Dance Theater was founded about more than 35 years ago. There is some discrepancy about the correct date, so we try not to use a particular date until we can really complete the research to determine what year it was actually found. But over 35 years ago,
Hmm.
and it was actually two young, courageous women who were students at the university who felt that there was a void and a lack of representation. And they went to, I believe it was their dean or the person that was in charge of student programming. And that person challenged them. The person said, if you see a void, do something about it. And they did. They created Black Women's Dance Theater. That's the short story, but the program has evolved over the years. It was once a co-curricular program, and now it's an academic program. And we have funding and support, and we are part of the Department of Performing Arts and a part of the dance program here at Georgetown. The students have the opportunity to work with some of the best in the country in terms of guest artists and guest teachers. And I really try to use the resources that I have to expose them to as much as I can, given our time and our budget.
Hmm. In fact, as Mary McCoskey was reading her piece about jazz, I was just thinking about, in fact, one of your guest artists, which is Mr. James, who did a
Yes,
piece with My Favorite Things as the
yes.
music.
Mr. James is a favorite amongst my students. He's a local artist, but his footprint expanded Broadway. He was the first African American Houston Ballet. He's traveled the world, and he brings all of that talent here. He's also on faculty at one of the, the prestigious arts institutions here in DC, Washington D.C.
Yeah, it must be a real treat for your students to be able
It
to
is.
work with, such famous people. But perhaps you could tell us a little bit about what's that production process that you have to go through with the students.
Well, the production that takes place in the spring semester is a little different than the fall. The fall is more of us working towards the main stage production. We call the production that I'm working on now the main stage production. So we begin to build our show and have more of a showcase in the fall. The production that's taking place on Friday is our main stage production. And what I typically do is I bring in 2 to 3 artists, guest artists for the students to work with. And I don't just bring the you know master artists. I also believe in using the space that we have to allow emerging artists the opportunity to work with students. Because oftentimes emerging artists, it's a hard time for them, getting their work out. So I have one emerging artist and I have one seasoned professional, and they're working with the students. In addition to that, the students have the opportunity of auditioning their works for consideration. And then I also include a faculty work of mine in the production. And we do everything from solos to duets to a full company piece. This semester, I think we have about 10 works that's being presented. And I actually shared with them before I joined this event that I was really proud of the work that they've done, considering we've been both hybrid, virtual one moment, asynchronous another moment, synchronous, in the studio, out the studio. And, they've been very resilient. And that's something that I'm really proud of, because as I shared with them, it would have been very easy for them to say, I don't want to dance until the pandemic is over. It would have been very easy to take that course. But they dug their heels in and they stayed with it. So I'm very, very proud of their contribution.
Very good. Well, let's see. Keeping an eye on time, then why don't we take a look at a couple of your dances, and perhaps you could describe something about the dances as they come along. Let's see if I can advance the slides here.
Okay.
Yeah. Give me a moment. Oops. Did that paint there? So this ought to be Glory, right?
Yes, this is Glory. I didn't know if this was the first slides. That's why I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this will be the first.
Okay, so this work, and I'm proud to say that Donald's son is in this piece. And he's dancing with all his soul with the white t-shirt. It's something I'm always looking for. I always tell my dancers to dance with your soul, tell the story from the inside out. And he's doing it in this piece. All of them are. This piece, the motivation for this particular work was both the music. I was inspired by the music Glory, which is from the soundtrack. It's the soundtrack from the movie Selma. But in addition to that, this was a time when there were so many things happening around the country in terms of Black Lives Matter, Black and brown bodies in the streets being shot to death, Black on Black crime. It was just a very raw time for me as an artist. I just felt like I needed to say something, and this image is a result of a work that I did at that time, particularly after the Eric Garner killing in New York. It just impacted me in a way that I just felt I couldn't be silent. I had to say something, and this is the result of it.
Mm-hmm. There's another view of that.
Yes. And this is talking about the senseless, in my opinion, the senseless killings that has taken place, and part of America is just outraged, and it was just a raw time. It just felt raw emotionally as an artist, and what do you say, what do you do? But I knew as an artist activist, I could not just be still. When you think about not being able to breathe, when that thought comes to mind, you can kind of put yourself in the position of Eric Garner for any individual who encounters something so tragic as that.
Now this next one is in
I
a
just
little
have to say,
different vein.
Donald, before you pass that one, the way you captured that image it's just amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome. This is in a little bit of a different vein here.
Yes. So this was, I believe, was this 2019, Donald? I believe this was 2019.
2019, I think so, yeah.
And I decided, usually I allow my student leaders to determine what their theme is going to be. This particular year, I decided that I was going to do a director's choice, and we themed the show Legends. And the legends, both in the industry, in entertainment, as well as legends around the country, people in politics, social activism. So we looked at all the people that we would consider legends. And one of the people that we decided to pay tribute to was Aretha Franklin. And this is her song, Troubled Waters. And and this young lady, she was a freshman at the time, but she came in with so much energy and so much determination that I decided to give her this solo, because typically we don't give a freshman a solo. But she worked so hard, and I just felt that this work fit her so well. And this was a suite. This was a suite of 5 songs of Aretha Franklin. And from doing this work, we learned that, well, I should say I learned, I mean, the music of Aretha Franklin was always playing in my home for my parents, but I wasn't that aware of her activism. And by doing the research for this particular piece, this suite of 5 songs, I think the whole piece was about 10 minutes. I learned a lot about what she did with Dr. King, and she told her father that she wanted to go out on the road and sing for Dr. King because he was doing the work of the people, and that's what she did. And this song "Troubled Water" opened up that suite. And again, Donald, great way that you captured the images. And it was funny because this particular piece, I kept saying to my students, I said, I have to create the water, I have to create the water. And they didn't know what I was talking about. And at the 11th hour, as you know me to do sometimes, I found my water. And so I had to run and go get this fabric to create.
In motion, it was actually really effective having those, streams of or bolts of cloth just fluttering in the background. It was like water.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's another one with Dr. Martin Luther King.
So this particular work, again, I was doing some work for another project, and sometimes you just stumble into something that you're not looking for. And I had never seen this particular clip of Dr. King in profile. And I just thought that, wow, this would be really cool to use this excerpt. He was talking about the Black man, and the name of this piece is Black Man. And this student here, his name is Trevor Brown. Trevor and I worked on this piece, and this is what you have. I believe this was originally 2018, but we revived it, I think, in 2020 as well.
In 2020, I think this was a 2020 performance. Yes.
Yes, and it's a powerful speech by Dr. King. It's a larger speech, but I was doing research and I found this, and I said, okay, we need to use this. We need to bring the creative elements into this. And again, this is around the time that the nation was just hemorrhaging from all of the racial injustice that was going on in the country. And I felt that this fit him as a young Black man on the campus of Georgetown University, and wanting to use his voice. I just felt this was a great project for him as well. And he rose to the occasion. I was very proud of him. Oh, I love this image. I love this image. So the young lady, Ashley Newman, she came to me and said, she auditioned her piece. I didn't see the entire work, but what she auditioned, I was willing to accept it. But this piece, when I tell you it was on the level of a professional artist, I say that with great admiration for the work that she did. This piece is called Ritual. And it involves spoken word, music, very suspenseful music from Beyonce, which I was very surprised by that. And it was women, Caucasian women and Black women, talking to each other about their similarities and their differences. And she knocked it out of the ballpark with this piece. I don't know if you remember the actual work, Donald, but it was very suspenseful, very eye-opening in how we relate to each other,
Right.
or how we view each other, and we don't realize that we view each other in that manner. So this was a great work.
Yeah, that's Ashley in the middle, and
Yes.
she's a medical student
She is a medical student. She was never torn between medicine and the arts, but she's great at both.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh
she was
yeah.
never torn.
Without a
She knew
doubt.
that she always wanted to do that, but she loved dance as well.
Yeah. And then a couple other clips here.
Okay, this is from one of our guest artists. He is an alumni of Alvin Ailey Dance Company. He danced with the organization. Now he's a deputy director of one of their arts education program. He's a professor at another university. He's worked with my students, I would say, at least 3 or 4 times. And this is his work. It was a solo work, and it is the complexities of a relationship between a man. And this was from the music was the great Donny Hathaway. So when he said, "I want to use Donny Hathaway," I was I was all in. I said, "Great, okay." And he allowed 2 students to perform the work. One performed on one night, and one performed on the other. But what I like most about it is that he brought all of the professional qualities that the students needed to understand about growing themselves as dancer, how to develop a work. You know, when you're a solo artist, you're the only person being looked at on the stage. And he really worked with them in terms of how to develop the character, because this was definitely a character piece.
Yeah.
And
It was
that's my
just the
favorite
one
one,
prop there.
Donald. That's my favorite one. So yeah. And the name of that piece, I think it was called "She's My Lady" by Donny Hathaway. And the choreographer, I'm sorry, was Torrance Johnson.
Yes, yes. And then we had another piece here.
So this is a work I did in 2020, and again, doing some research, I found this music by William Grant Still that I just love. The song is called Inanga, and I just went into the studio one day and worked by myself and created this contemporary work, and I used the entire company for this piece. And it was a departure from the type of work that I typically do. So I was able to challenge myself in a different way.
And then we had the 4 women, right?
Yes. So anyone who knows me as an artist, they know that I love Nina Simone. I love everything about her body of work and how she developed herself as an artist, as well as what some would call her downfall. And I don't classify it as that. But 4 Women was a work that I originally did as a young dancer, and it always stayed with me. I was the character Aunt Sarah, and I felt as a young girl it gave me all the empowerment that I needed in terms of my identity and who I was. Not that I was lost before doing the piece, but I just felt this strength, this level of strength as a woman and as an artist. So this is one of my signature works. I've had it in my rep for over 20 years. And this last time that we did it, we expanded the work, and Donald's just captured the expansion of the work.
Right. So we're going to go through the next few relatively quickly, and then we'll wrap it up here, Alfreda.
Okay, this is another guest artist. She did a tribute to Catherine Dunham, who is one of the great dance legends. And Donald, everyone talks about this sun. They call this the sunset. Everyone talks about it. They love it. And I think I'm using that as my backdrop today. Yes.
Yep. And then this is
Okay,
a series here.
so this young lady, Ashley, that we talked about, who's on her journey to becoming a doctor, this is another one of her wonderful works that she did. She did this as an alumni. I called her and she came back and she put this on the students, and she worked so well with them and helping them understand the process. So this was a great time that they had with her. This is a continuation of her work. And the images are outstanding. And Donald thought that he was only going to join me for the 1 or 2 years that before his son graduated, but his son is long gone, and I've been calling him back ever since. So thank you, Donald. We loved having you.
Thank you, Alfreda, and thank you, Chelsea and team.